Case 1. Jeffrey Dahmer, the killer next door. July 22, 1991. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A shaken young man flagged down police officers on the street. He was wearing one handcuff and said he had just escaped from a man who tried to harm him. He led officers to apartment 213. Inside, investigators made a discovery that would shock the nation. The tenant was Jeffrey Dahmer, a quiet, soft-spoken factory worker who had been living unnoticed among neighbors for years. What police found inside the apartment confirmed their worst fears: human remains, photographs documenting crimes, and evidence of meticulous attempts to conceal victims. The scene revealed a pattern of violence that had gone on far longer than anyone imagined. Dahmer would eventually confess to murdering 17 young men and boys between 1978 and 1991. His first known killing occurred in 1978, shortly after high school. Then, for years, there was silence. The crimes resumed in the late 1980s. Dahmer targeted vulnerable individuals, often young men he met at bars or approached with promises of money for photographs. Once inside his apartment, he drugged his victims and killed them. He later admitted to acts of dismemberment and attempts to preserve remains. What made the case even more disturbing were the missed warning signs. In 1988, Dahmer was convicted of child molestation but served a relatively short sentence. In 1991, one teenage victim briefly escaped and encountered police. Officers returned the injured boy to Dahmer's apartment after being reassured that everything was fine, a decision that later sparked public outrage and policy reforms within the Milwaukee Police Department. After Tracy Edwards escaped and alerted authorities in July 1991, the investigation quickly unraveled Dahmer's years of crimes. In 1992, Dahmer pleaded guilty but argued insanity. The jury rejected that defense. He was sentenced to multiple life terms, effectively ensuring he would never be released. In 1994, Dahmer was killed by a fellow inmate while in prison. The case exposed serious failures in law enforcement and highlighted how marginalized communities were often overlooked. It also forced America to confront uncomfortable truths about how someone who appeared so ordinary could hide unimaginable crimes. Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't a shadowy stranger lurking in alleyways. He was the man next door, and that realization may be the most unsettling part of all. Case 2. The Golden State Killer, Justice After Decades. From the mid-1970s into the 1980s, California lived in fear. A man broke into homes in the dead of night. He bound his victims with whatever he could find: shoelaces, drapery cords, and assaulted women while their families listened helplessly nearby. He called police afterward, taunting them, bragging about his crimes. Newspapers dubbed him the East Area Rapist. Then his crimes escalated. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, he became the Golden State Killer, committing dozens of rapes and 13 confirmed murders across Sacramento, the East Bay, and Southern California. Victims lived in terror. Families were shattered. Law enforcement was baffled. And then, he vanished in 1986. For more than 40 years, the identity of the Golden State Killer remained a mystery. Joseph James DeAngelo, a former police officer and family man, had been hiding in plain sight. Quiet, suburban life. No suspicion. The East Area Rapist's first confirmed attack occurred on June 18, 1976, in Sacramento County. Over the next year, more than 20 homes were targeted, often couples. He used a ski mask and flashlight, whispering threats. "I'll kill you if you scream." Small items were stolen: jewelry, photographs, leaving lasting fear. By 1979, he expanded south to Contra Costa County and later Southern California as the original Night Stalker, committing murder along with rape. Confirmed victims included Brian and Katie Majori, shot in 1978 after witnessing him, as well as Charlene and Lyman Smith, 1980, Manuela Withun, 1981, Gregory and Sherry Domingo, 1981, and Janelle Cruz, 1986. Survivors described a methodical, often rage-filled attacker who could be calm one moment and terrifying the next. Leeds ran cold. He stopped in 1986. Then, in April 2018, genetic genealogy changed everything. Using DNA from a 1980 crime scene and a public genealogy database, investigators traced the Golden State Killer to DeAngelo, a 72-year-old retired police officer. He was arrested on April 25, 2018. In 2020, he pled guilty to 13 murders and 13 rapes, receiving life without parole. As of 2026, DeAngelo is incarcerated in California State Prison, Corcoran, under protective custody. Victims' families continue to seek closure for uncharged cases, while the investigation into his crimes has influenced forensic methods worldwide. The Golden State Killer case transformed cold case investigations, popularizing investigative genetic genealogy. It proved that monsters can live unnoticed, blending into communities for decades, until science finally exposes them. It's a chilling reminder. Evil doesn't always look like evil. Case 3. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Summer, 1985. Los Angeles was gripped by fear. A shadowy figure in black moved silently through neighborhoods, slipping through unlocked windows and doors. He didn't just steal, he terrorized entire families. Men were shot. Women were assaulted. Children were forced to watch. Satanic symbols were left at crime scenes. Survivors whispered his name. The Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. Ramirez was born in 1960 in El Paso, Texas. A troubled childhood, substance abuse, and fascination with Satanism and true crime shaped a path toward violence. By the early 1980s, he had drifted to Los Angeles, escalating from burglary to assault and murder. The spree intensified in 1985. His attacks spanned the city. March 17th, Dale Yoshi Okazaki shot. Roommate assaulted. March 27th, Vincent and Maxine Zazera killed. Maxine mutilated. Summer months. Families in Monterey Park, Rosemead, Arcadia, and Diamond Bar attacked. Victims were shot, bludgeoned, strangled, and assaulted. Survivors described a tall, thin man with decayed teeth, a foul odor, chanting, "Hail Satan." He left victims terrified, law enforcement baffled, and the media in a frenzy. Composite sketches and news coverage reached the public, but he remained elusive. On August 24, 1985, citizens recognized him at a liquor store in Southgate. 1 week later, on August 31st, Ramirez was captured in East Los Angeles after local residents chased, subdued, and held him until police arrived. His reign of terror had ended, at least physically, but the horror he caused lingered in the city's memory. Ramirez was charged with 14 murders, 5 attempted murders, and 11 sexual assaults. His 1989 trial became infamous. He gave satanic salutes, drew pentagrams on his hands, and shouted, "Hail Satan," in court. Convicted on all counts, he was sentenced to death. He died on June 7, 2013, from complications of B-cell lymphoma while on death row at San Quentin State Prison, never executed. The Night Stalker's legacy endures. He fueled the 1980s satanic panic, inspired countless documentaries and films, and remains one of Los Angeles's most terrifying criminal legends. His attacks were random, chaotic, and without remorse, a chilling reminder that evil does not always follow rules. Ramirez was chaos incarnate. No pattern, no mercy, pure theatrical terror.